Good day, my Telos Podcast friends. This is a Telos Podcast, and it is brought to you by a Telos worker proposal funded by Telos. So what's exciting that's going on there right now is this ability for the community to self-fund through the blockchain itself. So we're seeing that happen on Telos. Exciting times today. The show we have for you is Sukesh from Unbiased and Telos Green. Unbiased is a really interesting social platform and search engine that is an unbiased search engine. And we kind of dig deep onto this. We start at the algorithm level, talk about where this big data is coming, how the algorithm is different from Google. Then we go to the search and social level and what the UX actually looks like through this new type of search. And it's not just your standard Google search like you might think. It's got sentiment indicators and all kinds of cool stuff. Search a little bit reimagined. So this is a super fun podcast, wide ranging as always, and enjoy the show.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain.
The Telos Podcast.
You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome to the show, Sukesh. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Good to have you on here finally. And we saw each other at the EOS World Expo in San Francisco recently. You had a booth there. So good to see you again. And what do you think the most interesting thing going on in Telos is right now?
Thanks for having me, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So in Telos, there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes, to be honest. So one of the things, of course, you have been talking within the last two podcasts, I guess, about the TD Economic Development Plan, which is like everyone is voting for it, and it's really great. And the other things going on in parallel is we launched a new distributed NFT standard recently with one of our partners. So that's being deployed on Telos as well. And then we are working behind the scenes to upgrade and test the network for Rex and also 1.8 changes. So a lot of things going on with the development, but also with the economic side of the things. And lately, within the last 2 days, the price was actually going up, and many people there were a lot of buy orders, and no one is trying to sell. So something is happening.
That's a nice sign, isn't it? That's a good, nice sign.
Yeah.
Well, the Telos Economic Development Program we cover really thoroughly in the episode number 1. So if anyone's interested in hearing some thorough coverage of that, check out Telos Podcast number 1. But that's exciting. This podcast here is funded by Telos. They've also got the worker proposal system. So it's cool to see the ecosystem funding itself and pushing projects forward. That's exciting. And then you mentioned the distributed NFT standard. Can you say can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So distributed NFT is kind of like the same as NFTs, but one of the key limitations of current NFTs is basically that it can be only owned by one particular account or one person, right? So you cannot own a particular NFT by 10 people or 100 people. So what we basically did, this is part of actually a project, the idea where we started with this. And then together with our partners, we managed to come up with the standard of distributed NFTs, where any particular asset can be owned by multiple parties. So if we are talking about an art, one single person cannot offer the whole art, right? So now 10 people can offer this art, and 10 people can profit from this art. So it can be like content as well, like music or movies, or it can be any of such kinds. So now people can take the advantage of earning incentives every quarterly as well, like whatever this music makes every quarterly. And all the 100 investors who invested in this asset can get these incentives quarterly basis. So that's one of the differences. Yeah,
that I hadn't heard of the distributed NFT model yet. Is it the first of its kind, or is this the first launching specifically for this chain, or what's that?
I think there were like some kind of proof of concepts out there by a couple of startups, but no one has like like came into like existence or like mass adoption yet. So, but when it comes to EOS ecosystem, we were like the first ones to come out and say, okay, we are working on this distributed NFT standard and we are implementing in this application already. So.
Well, that's fantastic, because I know that when NFTs get mentioned, people are always mentioning this application of something like art or music where a lot of people can own parts of it. But I didn't realize that that no one was actually working on that technology yet. People just like talked about it like it was already there. So that's cool to hear that you guys are the team that's actually doing that. That's really cool. And I guess that probably fits in with Zeptagram, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but that's the tokenizing the music industry. Is that why you guys are working on that specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. The other thing you talked about was upgrade for the Rex. How far off is the Rex for Telos, and what's the how's that all looking? What's it looking behind the scenes?
Yeah, so we have been testing out for quite some time. The core team is working quite heavily on Rex integration into Telos. There were like a few changes because of the differences in the system contracts in Telos and compared to EOS. So we have to make sure like everything is working as it should. So we broke the testnet like a couple of weeks ago when we deployed Rex. So we figured out the issues. And now we will relaunching and testing more things on Rex. But at the same time, we have 1.8, so we have to make sure like everything works combined together. So that's what's going on. And it's a small group of BPs working together and trying to get things done.
It's fantastic. Well, the BP that you're part of, Telos Green, is obviously working on a lot of stuff, and then also it's kind of the overarching vision to make EOSio blockchains green blockchains. Can you want to talk about what your block producer's doing?
Yeah, sure. So our mission is basically bringing EOSio to enterprises. We have a lot of contacts here locally within Sweden with big enterprises. That's one of the that's one of our visions. But also at the same time, we want to empower the aspect of sustainability, because like when I first came to Sweden myself, it's kind of like overwhelming to see people really care about the climate change or sustainability. So we kind of want to bring these aspects to mass adoption. So the only way we can do that by helping out applications try to address like at least one challenge for sustainability development goals, whether it's women empowerment or like clean water or whatever, like which are applications focused on sustainability. We want to partner up with these applications and try to help in whatever way possible, whether it's networking, whether it's resources, tech support, or whatever. We want to help them out.
Okay. So your focus is basically fostering the dApps that are focused on green projects, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, but at the same time, like we choose EOS because it's sustainable in terms of energy consumption as well. So that's one of the things we try to sell when we go and talk with enterprises as well. So
Okay.
if you compare with Bitcoin and if you compare with Ethereum and then you see EOS, you can offer the same level of security, but at the same time you consume much lesser energy as well. So that's one of the things as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So what's on the roadmap for Telos Green? What's the future hold for you guys? What are you guys working on?
So today we are mainly block producing in Telos and also Meet.One chains. We are one of the top 21 block producers in Telos, and we are on 25th position in Meet.One last time I checked. And soon we're going to make a public announcement about it, but I want to share it with your channel today. We're launching our activities again on EOS Mainnet. But we want to bring some differences ourselves with some new innovations at the same time and provide better services to all the EOSio mainnet community as well.
What kind of services or unique things are you guys trying to do on the main chain or the EOS chain? Yeah,
so one of the biggest issues is, of course, active participation in the testnets in both Kylin and also Jingle testnets. Today, like you can see, maybe 5 block producers or 10 block producers really have the nodes in these testnets, and even not like from top 21, if we see only like maybe 5 or 6 have the nodes in this network. So we want to be active. We want to provide active participation of nodes in these networks, and also development and testing. That's one of the biggest things, and also providing full history nodes for the whole community, because that's one of the limitations as well today. So we want to do that. And the third thing, which I'm really excited about, is bringing a Telegram bot, or like a bot in general, which basically answers questions for developers, or whether you come from whatever background. It basically answers you questions about the whole EOSio ecosystem. It's built using AI. So we basically gather the data from the internet, and we try to present you. So you can just ask normal questions. Okay, what does this error message means? And it will give you all the relevant information. So it makes the whole life cycle simpler, so that the development and the keeping up to date with the whole community, what's going on, you can be sure that you have all the information you need.
And you probably have a unique take on that bot because of Unbiased, which is a like a search engine. So you're probably using a lot of that technology for that, huh? Okay, cool. What's with where are full history nodes at on the Telos chain? Is it something? Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the key things, one of the key differences when it comes to Telos and EOS is all the block producers need to have like API nodes in Telos. That's a manual requirement according to the all the network agreement that we sign. And we also need to have nodes in the test network as well as BPs. So I think that's really good. So there are like quite many BPs today which provide Telos history nodes, full history nodes. So we are one of the BPs as well who provide version 1 full history nodes today in Telos.
Okay. What do you think of the requirements? Because that's a big difference between Telos and EOS is that one requires API and to be in the testnet, and the other doesn't. How do you see that playing out realistically? How's it affected everything?
So far, I think it's actually much better, to be honest, because today we know for sure like more than 51 block producers are really having nodes and maintaining their infrastructure in Telos, and we don't know the same thing in EOS today. So you never know like if it's 30 nodes or if it's 50 nodes who actually have the infrastructure keep on running. So that's one of the key differences in Telos today. And we have some public monitoring tools managed by third parties, which basically monitor every half an hour, like from EOS Metal, where they basically present you with all the information. Okay, which nodes are active, which API endpoints are active. So they basically verify this information. So the community can basically go and verify, okay, these particular block producers really have the active nodes today. And also, as you know, with Telos, we have this constant change of bringing in standby block producers to make sure like they are up to speed. And that's one of the key differences as well. But when it comes to adoption, you don't see like a lot of what do you call them, spam BPs, or like just people spinning up a node, or like just reproducing for a BP like in EOS. Like today there are around 400 or something. And in Telos you don't see these people, because if someone just joins or just comes in and reproduce without any website or without any nodes, they're just kicked out of the system today.
Yeah, that is a huge factor that seems like people questioned, the usefulness of that in the beginning, but as things start to play out, it seems like it's been a really effective way to approach it. So, it's pretty cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about your main project, or one of your projects, Unbiased. You want to give an overview of what that is?
Yeah, sure. So Unbiased is my startup that we started in 2018 in November. So it's a Swedish startup mainly focused on fighting fake news and misinformation. I think you heard about fake news yesterday. Even like I saw the video yesterday with Wordproof as well. They're also fighting. Their vision is to also fight fake news. So we think it's quite relevant today because, as you know, like many people are aware of this issue. Because we also have like a brand ambassador for fake news today. Whenever you hear the term, you have Trump in mind. So everyone, like you go to India or you go to any part of the world, people know this issue today and people are aware of this issue. So we have been working, we have been doing research and talking with many people, like how they use social media or how they consume information today. And like from all the research and all talks with people, we think we have the perfect solutions that we need to fight fake news.
That is a wonderfully bold statement right there. That's cool. So yeah, it looks like it's well, let's just talk about what those things are, how you're going to fight it. Like, how's that actually work?
Yeah, so like the whole concept of fake news, it's a bit gray area, right? Like it's so complex. It's not like specified with one single domain. It's not limited to just politics. It can be like in reviews or brands or whatever. You cannot name it.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we took like a 3-level approach. So during level 1, we are addressing one of the issues of bias in the algorithms that we like. All the applications have algorithms, some part of machine learning, some part of AI today. So we are building a platform where companies or machine learning projects can request like data sets, which are much more open and transparent, and also which are unbiased in a way. So for example, like if you're searching on Google, the algorithm says it's not biased anymore if it's built in such a way that you have thousands of people participating in this data set, building of this data set. So it's simple rule, right? Like how good is the algorithm and how good is the data? So they're directly proportional. So we are building this tool. So this is first phase where we are trying to address the issue at the algorithm level. And in the phase 2, we are building something called unbiased search engine, which is basically like an open search engine. You can just go and search for any topic or person, or like you can just ask like, okay, what do people think about Trump in Sweden? And it will present you with all the insights you need. We always talk in the blockchain community about on-chain data and on-chain transactions, right? We never think about like what's happening outside the blockchain. So unbiased search engine basically mixes both of these worlds. Basically, we present insights from all over the internet. So we collect data, we analyze the data using our algorithms, and then we present the insights. So when you just go and search, you have all the insights you need. So if you want to know about what people are talking about Bitcoin, so you can get all the insights. Okay, 70% people think it's positive today. And why do they think positive? So we can go into much deeper level of insights. So everyone can take the advantage of the data. And using blockchain, we can provide like transparent opinion polls, for example, like Lumios, for example. So we integrate that part of the solution into this search engine. So you have both sides. Okay, you have the outside world of blockchain, you have the blockchain proof. So this is level 2, and this is like the data level. We are addressing the issue of fake news. And finally, you have the human level, like the user level. That's where like we kind of competing with voice. So people, it's like a social platform, but unlike traditional social platforms and like voice, we are basically creating more like a social media gateway. So every content creator has today like 10 different profiles, 10 different social platforms. So we are just providing one single gateway so that you can use and create content across these 10 different platforms and still can incentives, but also add an extra layer of integrity for your data by timestamping of the content and timestamping the content on top of blockchain. So in addition to that, we can provide other services like plagiarism verification, because we're collecting data, so we know what's happening with your data. If we find your data being copied across some other channels, we can say that, okay, someone is copying your data, and you can go and request something. So we provide like end-to-end solutions for all the companies and normal people as well.
Wow. So that's comprehensive. Let's start at layer one there. So you talked about the algorithm layer. It makes sense that you're creating an algorithm that is more fair, provably fair type of thing. Where's the data coming from? Where's this massive data coming from that your algorithm's being applied to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So one of the things we came across, one of the challenges was to find the data in an unbiased fashion, because most of the data sets we find out there today are done by maybe 5 people or 10 people.
Oh, really?
Just sitting in front of the PC and doing annotations.
Okay.
So we kind of was thinking like, okay, can we use existing crowdsourcing solutions, maybe like Effect, for example, Effect.ai, or maybe Amazon's solutions. But then we realized like the quality of the data is really bad, and you never know like what's happening behind the scenes. So we came up with this solution called Unbiased Data Marketplace. So which basically helps us to collect data in a transparent way from various people across the world, but also we can provide this solution for other companies to take advantage and generate their algorithms, their data sets in a transparent fashion. So you have the data marketplace, you have the search engine, you have the social platforms, you have the end-to-end solutions.
Okay. And then at like the search level, can people picture this like a Google search window, or what's the UX of the search like, or how does it use the same way as we traditionally use search?
You can actually go and check out the UX designs on our website today. Mm-hmm. So the way it looks, basically, it's kind of like similar to Google search app. If you look into mobile app, you can just go and search in Google, and we present you with insights. Instead of presenting you with a bunch of links and different pages, we actually present you with, okay, this is what's happening, this is the trending news regarding this topic, and this is the community sentiment, overall sentiment. And then we categorize into different sources. Okay, this is the sentiment on Facebook related to Bitcoin, this is the sentiment on Twitter related to Bitcoin, and so on. So then you can basically go and much more deeper and see, okay, this is what's happening, and you can try to, now you have all the sides' opinions, right? So this kind of impacts you on a more psychological level, because one of the biggest issues today is like confirmation bias. Like every person has confirmation bias. So we trying to eliminate the dominance of confirmation bias by providing you with all sides' opinion in one place. So okay, now you have everything, now you can make the decision. So it's not just limited to politics, it can be any topic. It can be a movie, it can be a restaurant, it can be product, anything.
Yeah, that is cool. That's a different take on search, because the way that we've only really experienced search through Google, and so it's easy to get stuck in this idea that the websites are presented to you in some sort of order. But the idea of what you're talking about, kind of breaking it down, a lot more information with the sentiment, is so cool. What's your, that seems like off the rip, that just kind of seems like that would be something that, trading firms or brokerages would want access to it more even than, before it gets to this mass adoption. People seem like they'd want to buy that up and have those sentiment indicators for themselves.
Yeah, actually, like many companies or many trading bots today actually use these kind of solutions. And even like many businesses, they use this data analytics in their work processes today. So one of the key differences we are bringing is we are trying to bring the same technology to masses, like common people. So now common people can take the same advantage of the technology and see, okay, these many people actually really feel bad about Facebook, and these many people really feel bad about Trump. So now Trump, or like any news channel, Fox News or CNN, cannot go out and say, okay, actually 70% support Trump and 50% support Trump, but the facts are something else. So now they cannot really argue anymore. So the main idea was to bring this transparency so that people and companies start working on the issues rather than just covering up using technology. So that was the motivation behind it.
Okay, cool. So you guys are motivated to get this out to the normal people. It's not something where it's going to get yeah. I mean, because this is, sentiment indicators are something that are purchased very often, and people like to have them private for themselves. So that's cool that you guys are looking at getting it out to the general public. That's an exciting development for sure. So I'm thinking more about the data marketplace. So is this from the start, is this amount of data available for your algorithms to run, or does the data marketplace need to get kind of churning first to start creating the data? How's that play out?
So we do have like some data sets for us today that we can start working on, but of course, like this plays a vital role in our agenda moving forward, because this also brings us more data and more efficient algorithms for us, and also brings community of machine learning developers and enthusiasts. So now they can all take advantage, and they can also sell their algorithms in the marketplace that we have. Okay, you're a data scientist or you're a machine learning engineer. You built an algorithm which is really good, and now you have a marketplace where you can sell it today as a digital asset, pretty much.
Okay, and are you needing to hold this data as you collect it? Is there any, or is the data distributed somehow? How's that look as you collect these masses of kind of sentiment and data?
So the sentiment data, there are like many public data sets out there today. So what we did, we took more like a research oriented approach. We started working with a couple of master thesis students and university professors and some PhD students. What we did, basically, we gathered all these publicly available data sets regarding sentiment analysis, for example, and then we tried to use like the open source algorithms from Google, and then we combine both and try to come up with a new algorithm which has much more insight into the natural language understanding today. So of course, like Google's open source work is much helpful for us. We kind of like against Google, their ideology, but still their developers do quite a lot to the community.
Oh, I didn't realize that. What's the Google open source community like? How much are they adding?
So like in the machine learning and NLP domain, I think they're adding quite a lot. So their algorithms are today are like one of the best, state of the art. So it's called BERT. I don't know if you know of it, but and now recently, like the last month or so, they launched another algorithm which is called ExcelNet. So these both are basically competing with each other. They launched one in January and now the other one in May. So it's like 10 times more better performance. And they train these algorithms already on like huge amounts of data that we cannot even get a hold of. And what we are doing, because now you have this natural language understanding, you can just take this data and these algorithms and add more on top of that. So you don't need to have huge amounts of data to train your new models. You just need to have a quite specified and quite good quality of data. So that's the key difference now where we are moving in the machine learning domain. So you need much more short amounts of data, but also it's better quality. And most of the time, the algorithms, the underlying layer, they already are trained on millions of data sets and millions of amounts of data.
So they've done a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the massive amounts of data, and that's open sourced. And so now teams like yours can tweak and get real specific. Are you looking to be? Do you have a specific target when you start? Is it going to be cryptocurrency? Is it going to be politics? Do you have somewhere that you're going when you first start feeding data?
Yeah, so we actually built like a proof of concept initially, but then we realized like we can actually run it as a standalone application. So we will be actually launching in a couple of weeks from now an application called FUD, focused on blockchain community, where we present sentiment analysis and data and insights. So it's kind of like a news aggregator, but also it presents sentiments on various cryptocurrencies, and we also categorize based on blockchains as well. So you can just go to FUD World, and then you can get all the insights you need with just click of a search or like in a dashboard. So you have both sides. Okay, this is what's happening in different parts of the world, and this is what people are talking about Bitcoin or EOS or any project in the community.
That's a killer tool. So that's FUD, that's FUDworld, FUDworld.com.io. What's the?
No, it's just FUD.world.
Oh, FUD.world. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Exciting. That's rad. I can't wait to check that out. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be for the people that, that are using that. That'll be a fun tool. That'll be a cool little edge on the rest of the community, possibly. I'll be hyping FUD World as I start to use it. I'll let people know. That's killer.
Yeah. We're just fixing few bugs right now. It has been already working quite good. We have been already collecting like a lot of sentiment data on various cryptocurrencies today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're just trying to get it production ready so people can start using it.
Cool. And so where do you pull data how do you talk about how you like pull data for that?
So today we collect data from 30,000 news sources. Like it can be like various normal traditional news platforms, news websites, but also focused on cryptocurrency domain. And we also collect data from Twitter mainly. That's one of our biggest data point. And then we also collect from Reddit as well. And we plan to add Telegram pretty soon.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and also YouTube comments as well. Yeah, it's kind of a bit hard to get access to Facebook when you're a startup, but yeah, we're trying to work on getting data from Facebook as well, but it takes time.
How do you pull data from Telegram?
So for us to pull data from Telegram, we need to our bot needs to have like admin rights. So then we can basically get all the data to the backend and see, okay, like for example, if you see bots like bad language or something, which basically remove those contents, they're basically reading all the text in a way.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yes. So we basically do that, and we just need to get the admin rights or super user
So then you
rights.
need to go to big channels and basically request admin rights to.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, just for cryptocurrencies, I think in the beginning it might be we will just focus on like EOS or Telos or maybe some Ethereum groups, I guess. But once we get adopted and people know in the community, then they start approaching us and they start asking us to add stuff. So
yeah, cool. What have you seen any interesting, as you've played with this, have you seen any interesting patterns as far as like mass sentiment and cryptocurrency, how that ties together?
So we did see actually some kind of similarities between the price and also the sentiments. But as you know, like the cryptocurrency world is kind of like dominated by whales. So the impact of the sentiment is quite little because a lot of people who actually come out and talk, they don't own much crypto, to be honest. So you of course see like sentiment having some impact, but at the same time, one of the biggest news channels come out and say something, and that's it. Just the price changes, and you see these fluctuations, and you see these indicators today. But we are working on some algorithms where we can also maybe present like a future forecast or something like that, which maybe people can just take the advantage, or it's just for fun as well.
Yeah. I guess you do. You need a sentiment indicator specifically for the whales, but they're hiding. So, yeah, interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the social. We've kind of hit on the search and the algorithm level type of stuff. What's the social like? You mentioned that it would be a kind of a gateway to all the other socials. What's that? Talk more about that. Yeah.
So I think like many people came out and they wanted to do their own blockchain social platform like Steemit, Voice now, and like everyone is trying different approaches. So what we thought was more like, okay, why do people want to choose another platform when they're comfortable using Instagram or Facebook or existing tools, right? So what we thought was mostly majority of the content creators today use some kind of tools out there just to manage all the social platforms, all the community insights and analytics in one place. So as we already have the advantage of providing analytics, we thought we will just build a social platform which more or less acts like a gateway to existing platforms. So you go and create content using our platform, and then you can post across 10 different solutions, 10 different applications, or 100 different applications. And you can also earn cryptocurrencies. Like if we can also connect to Voice, we can also connect to Steemit, and we can also bring the rewards to one place. So you have everything in one place now. You don't need to log into 10 different platforms and create content. But at the same time, another good thing about this is you also have blockchain proof, and that adds an extra layer of integrity for your data as well.
I mean, just the idea of being able to post to one place and have it post everywhere for you is important, is big. So that's kind of the idea of posting one place and managing all your socials is that's like a paid service that some people pay for. Do you plan to have the socials? Is that just going to be free to people? Because that's a heck of a tool if it's free.
Yeah. So what we plan to do, like majority of the paid services today are like they're based on number of accounts or number of channels that you can post in. So we will kind of have a similar approach, but we will try to like keep it on a more general level. Like normal people maybe have like 5 accounts. Like serious content creators have 20 channels. So we will charge a minimum fee, and which is really competitive to the existing solutions like Hootsuite, for example, and it would be around like $10 or $15 per month. So
yeah, that's Hootsuite. I think I've used in the past, but I mean those aggregators where it just posts everywhere for you, that's a heck of a tool. That's great. But the idea of being able to integrate crypto, like if you're posting to Steemit and Voice, like I haven't posted to Steemit in so long just because I don't, it's not worth the extra, 15 cents to like go over there and take the time to log in. But if I was able to just post there and then the little bit of steam came back to some other account with some Voice coming back to some other account, I mean, that's a cool tool. So you plan on having a wallet then that's going to hold cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. So we have a couple of designs in the website, so you can go and check out and write some feedback. So we will also keep more designs out there pretty soon about the data marketplace and as well. So everything is out there, transparent, so you can just go and see how it works, what are the different functionalities. So I think that's one of our edge when we talk about Voice or any other social platforms as well.
Yeah, that's cool. But it sounds like this is kind of a layer that would be on top of Voice, not necessarily a competitor. Or do you see it as there some competition?
Of course, there is competition because we want people to use our platform, our social platform as well. So people can, of course, post on our social platform at the same time. And they can also earn rewards from our social platform as well. So our solution to post across these all platforms and manage, that brings more people to us rather than just going to Voice or rather than just going to Steemit. So that's one of our edge.
Cool. Well, we talked about the algorithm level, the search level, the social media level there. You kind of covered the gambit. Is there anything we kind of glossed over before we get into your other projects that you'd like to hit on with this? With Unbiased?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's killer. I mean, Unbiased it's a really exciting program. What's the timeline? Like, what's your timeline on the next thing launched and kind of your roadmap?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we so far we're like self-funded, so it has been a bit of challenging to get people working and fund them and So we are basically doing our activities with collaborations, and we were currently looking for funding of investors. So maybe in next couple of weeks you will see FUD, which is a cool application, which is also like a proof of concept. But in somewhere in Q4, we will launch the data marketplace, and also first version of search engine where you can just go and search. And for the social media platform, it would be next year in Q2.
Cool. Well, I look forward to watching Unbiased develop. That's a heck of a program, and it's just the scope of it is big, man. I mean, when you first said that we're trying to fix fake news, it's like that's a huge that's a huge.
That's the thing. Like whenever I try to talk to people and explain this, it's kind of like challenging even to understand as well, because we're trying to address on various levels, right? So but this is a step-by-step approach. That's what people should understand. Like, you start with one thing, you address it, and then each and everything is interlinked, of course, but in each and every level we are addressing the core problems. So at the end of the day, this is a vision for 5 years, next 5 years, what's going to happen. So this will basically evolve, and there will be a lot of adoption. So that's what we are aiming for.
Very cool. Very cool. I look forward to following up. And that's kind of the cool thing about a long format podcast is some of these ideas are so big. It takes time to like dig in and see what's actually happening. It's not, an elevator pitch for something like Unbiased is just hard to do because it's so, there's so many layers to it. So, well, let's, you have another project that you're involved with. It's called Zeptagram, and Zeptagram's looking to tokenize the music industry. You want to talk a little bit about Zeptagram, what they are?
Yeah, so it's a Swedish startup as well. So I got involved with Zeptagram in late February. So back then it was just an idea, and they were actually trying to deploy on Ethereum before. So I met the founder, and then we kind of came across this like mutual understanding, and then we started working on it together. Because I actually I forgot to mention this before, I am one of the board members and founder for Swedish Blockchain Association. So I have like a lot of network here back in Sweden. So yeah, we do like a lot of activities when it comes to blockchain. So that's how I met this founder of Zeptagram. And this project is mainly focusing on digitalizing traditional intellectual property rights of various assets. So whether it's a music or whether it's movies, or it can be any artwork, it can be games or anything. So people can digitalize these assets and basically tokenize, and many people can own these tokens and own these assets. One of the biggest challenges why we started this working with this idea was like in music industry today, like the actual owners of the music, they only own maybe like 20% or 30%. Majority of the share goes to the producer or the record labels and all these people. They basically have to sell because they don't have cost to produce all this stuff. If they have some additional incentive or some additional money beforehand, they don't need to give out 50% or 60% to these labels. They can own a majority of the shares. And also you see like not much things happening like in the music tech industry. So our application basically, Zeptagram is deployed on Telos blockchain, and it brings the distributed NFT concept into place, where now people can own a part of the music, whether it's 5% or whether it's 1%, by 100 people or 10 people. So you can basically invest in music rights, and for the next 3 years or 5 years, whatever the artist chooses, you can earn royalties every quarterly on top of that. So for example, if we're talking about like a Justin Bieber song, if that song is tokenized on top of blockchain, and he gives out 5% of the rights for next 3 years, people can just invest in these rights, and then they can start earning incentives every quarterly, like whatever this song makes, they get a part of it as well. So now it opens up a new basically parallel economy or parallel investment opportunities for people and followers of these artists and so on.
Yeah, that's a cool community tool too, when you think about artists and in their community being able to own a song, because people are already so involved. People talk about, music specifically. It's like, oh, I went and saw him before he was big, or I saw her in concert at this small venue. And all of a sudden, if people could say, I own, a 1,000th of their song, like they can discover, it incentivizes this music discovery also, which people love.
Yeah, and also one of the good things about this is because if you own part of like a music or something, it's not just valuable today or like in next 3 years. It's valuable like even after 50 years or 60 years, even after your lifetime as well. So we see like a lot of music from late 50s and 60s, like we start playing them in our playlist in YouTube or Spotify today. So I think music and these kind of things, they live forever. So you cannot it's not just one time investment, right? So like many people today invest in stocks, but they don't have any clue. But this tool will basically bring mass adoption, because now people can invest in artists and they're really who they like.
Yeah, it's a fantastic concept. So there's a lot of teams that are working on this solution as well. What do you think kind of the main things that sets this Zeptagram apart?
So I know like a couple of teams like within the EOS ecosystem actually working in the music industry and combining blockchain, but like everyone is focused on providing like one platform where people can just collect all the royalties and everything, or like streaming royalties for the artist. But that's not the thing we are focused on. Our application basically gives other users rights to the assets, but at the same time it's also like an exchange where you can trade these assets as well. So now you bought the assets during the crowd sale, and then you can start trading like normal traditional cryptocurrencies against EOS or Telos or US dollar or whatever. And maybe you basically speculate like shares and say, okay, in the next quarter, it's going to make $500,000. So you basically combine that with the news, and then you can start speculating, and this will become basically an additional market.
Interesting. So do you see artists like having crowd sales for their album releases?
We actually have been talking with a couple of artists here locally. Some are big names actually within the Nordic region, and some people already signed up to list their songs, couple of songs initially on the platform. So I think this will be huge for Telos and the whole EOS ecosystem. Because this is actually bringing the real users from outside the blockchain space completely. They don't have any clue about blockchain. Now they start using like technology without knowing it in a way.
Yeah, well, that is huge. I mean, that's the next step for Telos and EOSio chains is this, like you're saying, reaching out to people who don't know that they're using the blockchain. They just get to start using this cool technology all of a sudden. And the example that I use sometime is back in the day when credit card machines first appeared on gas pumps. Like, one day it wasn't there, and the next day you went, and you're like, oh, cool, I can swipe my credit card now for gas. And then, I didn't care all the things that were going on behind for 10 years before that made that happen. I was just stoked the one day that I got to finally go use a credit card at the gas pump, So, so hopefully we start getting some gas pump moments coming up for Telos blockchain here.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of good things happening within the Telos. And I think in just next couple of months, there will be many applications being launched on Telos. And I think these applications will be really huge.
Yeah. So you chose the Telos blockchain with, you're a producer on Telos blockchain, Unbiased is on Telos, and Zeptagram is on Telos. What was kind of the deciding factor that made you choose that blockchain?
So there are actually a couple of factors. So one of the things I think which is good in Telos and which worked out well is the network resiliency aspect of it. Now, like more than 51 block producers really have the nodes and maintaining the network. So that's one of the stability things that we look for when we deploy an application. And the other thing is also like the community aspect of it, like all the block producers, the way they work and the way they talk and communicate with each other. And you see like worker proposal systems or like the economic development plans. these are actually being done by the community in a way. And I was involved like from day one within the Telos till the launch of Telos. So I know like how the community worked behind the scenes and what was the ideology behind Telos. So I think that's one of the things which motivated. But like if we look keenly from the financial standpoint, the resource costs are way cheaper in Telos, and it's the same technology in EOS and Telos. So it's just good for us to choose from a resource standpoint. We just pay much more cheaper prices in Telos compared to EOS today. So we get the same benefits or more.
Yeah, that the resource management, it makes a ton of sense because, like you're saying, it's the same technology, or they share a lot of the same technology, and it costs money to run dApps. So, Telos is kind of a logical route for a lot of people projects to take too. So,
but we actually plan to like do cross-chain integration as well. So it's just not Telos. So it's across all the EOSio chains. So in a way, like you can do cross-chain token transfers or whatever you see. So at the end of the day, we want to have all the whole EOSio ecosystem working, like all the applications of ours would be working across all the EOSio chains.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big picture things that a lot of people are starting to realize or feel is that, it doesn't have to be this chain or this chain. There's going to be chains that are all kind of working together and overlapping and just running as a mesh. So that's a good point. Absolutely. So we have covered Telos Green, Unbiased, Zeptagram. Is there anything you'd like to go back and talk a little bit more about or hit on here as we start to, last 10 minutes or so?
No, not really. I think we covered pretty much most of the stuff. That's what's happening behind the scenes. So I think I'm happy.
Yeah. We had a wonderful run there through all those explanations. If you have a ton going on, man, that's surprising how much you personally are up to. That's amazing. So on my end, this is the Telos podcast, funded by a Telos worker proposal system, which is showing Telos in action, which is rad. I've also got I am part of Telos San Francisco block producer. So if you're looking for a block producer, we are one of the standbys producing out there. So supporting the Telos chain. So Telos San Francisco, and that's what I got. So it was a pleasure to have you on the show today, Sukesh. Do you have any final words for our listeners here?
First of all, thanks for having me, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity and to share like what we do with the whole community today. And we made some public announcements, so we will work hard to keep up with what we are doing, and we want to do good things and bring good things for the society and the community. So if you are interested in our mission and would like to follow us in Unbiased or Zeptagram or Telos Green, just reach out to us in one of our channels. So you can find our website, I guess, in the links below in the YouTube. And you can send us a message in our Telegram channel or just email us or sign up in our mailing list. We will be very happy to have you on board working with us as an ambassador or just a community leader, because we want people as a community, and we want to approach as a community. So that's all I would like to say today.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Sukesh. And Telos podcast listeners, cheers to you. Until next time, have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is.